So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Melanie Bartz. I'm an advisor in the College of Education, Health and Human Sciences. So I'm just assisting with our occupational therapy, physical therapy, and chiropractic breakout room. So I think you can switch if this isn't the one that you want to be in, but hopefully you stay because this will be awesome. So yeah, we will go ahead and get started with panelist introductions. And then because we have kind of a small group, we could do student introductions as well. If everyone is open to that, but we'll just kind of go around, whoever would like to start out. Panelists, if you wouldn't mind sharing your name, what school you are with, and what program you're representing, and anything else that you'd like to share to go ahead and get started. Who would like to go first?
Who in here is panelist? Because I am.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
I think we were trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Shannon, why don't you start it off?
Sure. I'm Dr. Shannon Hughes. I'm a physical therapist. I am also the chair of the admissions committee at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center.
I'll go next. I'm Dr. Lauren Woods. I'm chair of the admissions committee for the occupational therapy program at UT Health Science Center.
And I'll follow that up because I am also from the OT department at EHSC in Memphis. My name is Dr. Stephanie Lancaster. I'm on faculty there and I'm the program director. It's a master's level program for OT.
I'll go next. My name is Sophie Thompson. I am the admissions coordinator at South College in Knoxville for the Doctor of Physical Therapy program.
I'll jump in. My name is Nicole Alexander. I am an admissions counselor at Life University in Marietta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, and focusing mainly on Doctor of Chiropractic.
I'll piggyback from Nicole. My name is Whitney, and I'm also an admissions counselor for the Doctor of Chiropractic program in Atlanta with Life University.
Okay, did we get all the panelists? I think we did. I was trying to keep track on my other list. Perfect. Okay. Well, I love to put people on the spot on Zoom because it's everyone's favorite thing. And I know Kaylin used to be one of my advisees. So Kaylin, if you wouldn't mind, would you start off with a little introduction, maybe your name, what your major is, and what program you're interested in?
Yeah, so my name is Kaylin. I'm a junior at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. My major is kinesiology, and I am interested in PT, getting into PT school.
Awesome, perfect, thanks. How about Nicholas? Why don't you go next?
I'm a junior as well. I'm really interested in physical therapy, and then I'm a kinesiology major, but I'm still sort of deciding on schools. So like I want to see the processes of the schools as well as just what schools are.
Awesome, perfect, thanks. Everyone's boxes moved around a little bit. Is somebody...
I can go next. I'm Caitlin. I'm a sophomore at the University of Tennessee, and my major is psychology. And I'm hoping or looking into go to an occupational therapy program.
Awesome. And Jakira, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, major, and what program you're interested in?
Yeah, my name is Jakiria. I'm a junior, major in kinesiology, and I'm interested in occupational therapy.
Awesome. Okay, I think we got everybody. I don't want to cut anyone off though. Did I get everyone? Yes, I did. Okay, perfect. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, since we've got kind of a small group, if you want students to put questions in the chat while we're going, I'll kind of keep an eye on that. And then once everyone has kind of had a chance to answer a question, if you want to unmute and just ask, you are welcome to do that as well, whatever your preference is. But we'll just kind of get the panelists off started with a question. Maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about the field of the program that you're representing and what a professional or a practitioner does in those respective professions. Who would like to start? We'll just kind of do like a round robin thing.
I'll go. So for occupational therapy, what we focus on is occupations, which are skills of daily living. That can be dressing, bathing, fine motor skills, visual perceptual skills, sensory motor skills, processing. It's a range of diagnoses throughout the lifespan. We look at human development, and it can start from birth in NICUs all the way till old age in nursing homes, hospitals, all different types of settings. Personally, I've worked in inpatient, outpatient, home health, school systems. So there's a lot of different opportunities if you're somebody that likes a lot of change and likes to do a lot of different things and work with people of different ages. For a while, I worked in the school systems during the day, and then after work did home health with older people. So you can also work with different populations at the same time, even because we have different opportunities for things like that. Dr. Lancaster, do you want to add anything to what I just said?
Yeah, just a little bit. The thing that I think sets, one of the things that I think sets OT apart, because it does have some overlaps with some other health professions, is that we use occupation, or what we think of as meaningful activities, both as an intervention or a treatment, and also that's our goal of treatment. So the fancy way to say that is that occupation is both the means and the end for us in our profession. And so there is a lot of mental health, psychology, that sort of thing in there. We also look at cognition, as well as all the things that Dr. Woods said. And so if you're explaining it to somebody, or if you're in another profession that's adjacent to it, if you think about it, occupation not being your job, but things that occupy your time that are meaningful to you, that's what we address in OT. So that's a better way to understand it than what a lot of people think it is.
So I'll piggyback off of Dr. Lancaster. So there is a whole lot of overlap between what we think of as occupational therapy and physical therapy. So physical therapy, we think about it as we are the movement experts. We want to try to restore whatever movement problem is going on. And we do it through education, we do it through intervention, we do it through everyday activities, which is where that overlap sometimes occurs with OT. The idea of and this used to be an old idea, and I don't agree at all, that PT does the big stuff and OT does little stuff. It doesn't happen like that anymore. The best thing is when there's a collaboration between OTs and PTs, to make sure that the patient gets the best care that they can get. PT has a lot of different focuses. We do aquatic care, we do acute care, which is in the hospitals. We think about inpatient versus outpatient, and the outpatient can be orthopedics, it can be pediatrics, it can be neuro, it can be sports, it can be oncology. There's just a lot of different focuses that you can make within your life as a physical therapist. Hopefully I answered that question. I'm not quite sure if I got everything.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Sophie, you're our other physical therapy person, so anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think Shana did a great job kind of encompassing all of it. Just one other thing to add is they really see exercise as medicine. So just getting back to everyday functions, it can be, just from everyday daily life activities or getting back into sport. So that really plays a huge role in physical therapy.
Awesome. And then our chiropractic folks, you want to summarize a little bit about the field and what a professional might do in a chiropractic role?
Absolutely. And my partner's laptop died on her, so she's in the process of trying to get back in. But as far as the chiropractic profession, what chiropractors focus on is eliminating interferences in the nervous system, whether that be from genetic things that are passed down, whether that be things that have occurred during lifestyle. What they mainly focus on is eliminating those interferences that cause the body to react in certain ways, and actually trigger symptoms that we see in an everyday basis. I'm currently under the care of a chiropractor. I'm 6 months pregnant, and there are some things that just even in pregnancy, having to deal with round ligament issues and things like that. So what the chiropractors do is actually adjust the spine and different parts of the body so that your nervous system is able to function the way that it's supposed to, so that the brain can get signals throughout the body without interferences and just really improving overall health. And they do that through different adjustment techniques, and just kind of work with the patient to determine what the best course of action is for that patient, and just making sure that everything is back into alignment with the way that it's supposed to be. In Life University's specific policy, we have a vitalistic principle that just kind of governs everything that we do, which pretty much just means that the body was created as a self, the word escapes me now, but the body is a self-maintaining organism. That's what I was looking for. And the body was pretty much created to do what it needs to do. And if we eliminate the interferences that occur, then the body will actually heal itself from things that cause different symptoms that we see. So that's what chiropractors basically focus on in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot that goes into that, but that's probably the best summary that I can give in a short period of time.
Awesome. All right, thanks. Well, to kind of move forward, since all of the students in here are working on their undergraduate degrees and probably looking to apply sometime here in the next couple of years, for each of your respective fields, could you just kind of talk a little bit about what a student can expect when they're applying to a graduate program, or your program specifically? What does the application cycle look like, if there is a cycle? Is there a centralized application, or is that not super common? Anything like that. And if we just kind of keep going in order, we can start with Lauren again, if you don't mind.
Sure. So for occupational therapy, we have an early admissions that is the program, the application is due January 5th. And then we have a regular admissions where the application is due by March the 5th. And the criteria are a little bit different. For the early admissions, you want to have already completed all your coursework, and the GPA has to be, I think it's a 3.5 or 3.2. I'd have to look it up exactly. I don't want to say it wrong, but it's a little bit higher requirement. And then for the regular admissions, you can still have certain courses that you still need to complete, as long as they're complete by the end of August before you actually start school. And you have the opportunity to do what's called a proposed plan for completion for the regular admissions. And then the GPA doesn't have to be quite as high. We try to be very holistic. So we do look at GRE and GPA, but we also want to see pre-professional evaluations from at least 3 different people. And then we also have a personal statement or an essay. Historically, we have required observation hours in person, but because of COVID, that's really hard sometimes for applicants to get those hours. So we have an online shadowing module that talks about different areas of occupational therapy, and then prompts to write an essay that way now as well, to try to help with the fact that it's harder to get these volunteer hours with COVID. We also look at leadership, community service, and leadership skills could be something that you do at school in your program, like if you're in a sorority and hold an office or something, but we also expand that definition past that. So if you're working a job where you're having to use leadership skills, or if you're working at camps or a youth director or help with vacation Bible school, like all those kind of things are considered leadership skills as well, because we want as much diversity as possible. And we realize that some people are trying to work and go to school, and it would be hard to do things just at their undergraduate programs. So.
Awesome. All right. So moving on to physical therapy. Anybody want to chime in?
So, Sophie, do you want to go first since I went first last time?
Sure. So we do have a central application. It's through the PTCAS, so the Physical Therapy Central Application Service. I believe majority of the programs do participate in that. We do have 2 cycles because we have 2 starts. So I guess this is where it gets a little confusing with our program because we have a January start and a June start. Each start we can sit 100 students. And then within our actual cycle, the January application will be available from February until May. The CAS system closes for a little bit, then reopens. And then that same January application will be available from July to November. And then for the June start, it's just a regular application cycle through PT-CAS. So that application will be available from July through May. We do have, minimum GPA requirements. Both the overall and prerequisite GPA must be a 3.0 to be qualified to apply. We do require the GRE right now, but we don't have required minimum scores. We do also like to see, we require 2 recommendation letters. One currently has to be from a licensed physical therapist, and then another can be from a professor, like academic professor, or a supervisor, employer, something along those lines as well. And then we do have an online recorded interview. So to kind of go along with our program being a hybrid and accelerated, everything's going to be online. It's through the Cura platform, which I think some of the PT programs will be going to as well. But we've always utilized the online platform so people don't have to travel to Knoxville for our interview process. We do select specific students that meet the requirements that we look for to complete those interviews, and our admissions committee will review those in full with their PT-CAS application. So that's kind of what our application cycle kind of generally looks like. So.
Shannon, you're on mute.
So for our program at UT, we are in Memphis. We don't have 2 cycles. We only have a single cycle each year, and we accept 60 students into our program. We have a soft decision and then a firm decision. And what that means is we've got an early decision date that's usually in August. That the students know that they really want to go to UT. There's no difference in metrics between the August date and usually the November date. We are part of PT-CAS, so any information that you may want, you probably should go to PT-CAS, and I'm about to put that into the chat box, ptcas.org. That's the easiest way to find out more information about not only our program and South's program, but also any program that's part of the PT-CAS system. You can find out what the prerequisites the programs require for our program and any other program that's part of the PT-CAS system. The application process is not something you want to delay. So we have had students that have waited till August 14th at 10:45 at night to start their PT-CAS application, and you just really can't do that. You need to start up your PT-CAS application or any CAS application as soon as possible because it is time intensive. You have to put in all of your classes. There's an option with any of the CAS systems that you can pay them more money and they'll input all of your information, or you can save yourself some money and you put in your own information. So you have to put in all of your information, all of the classes that you've taken at any campus that you've been at. So if it's been at UTK or at a community college, you're going to have to input all of that information. Then you're going to have to request for your transcripts to be uploaded as well. Our program, we're requiring 1 letter of recommendation from an advisor or a professor in your major. I always tell people to make sure that they choose somebody that they've had contact with. So if it's your advisor, make sure you've gone and had advising done. Or if you have gone to a professor, that's who you want to write your letter of recommendation. Make sure it's somebody that you've gone to office hours with, or you've had questions in class that they can attest to your academic history. Because I've read some letters of recommendation that it's, I really don't know this student, but they asked me to write a letter of recommendation. That's not who you want to write your letter of rec. So yeah, letter of recommendation. We also require the GRE. We also look at GPA, and like the OT program, we are part of holistic admissions. So your GRE and your GPA is your foot in the door. Once we get past that GPA and that GRE, then we start looking at all the other factors. Just like what OT was talking about, we look at your service. Have you worked in the community? Are you part of an organization on campus, off campus? Have you held a leadership role in that on campus or off campus activity? Have you done a medical mission? Have you gone overseas and taken courses? Do you speak another language? Are you an underrepresented minority? We look at all of these factors, and all of those things are part of your application. We also ask for you to write a few essays. We're looking to see how you write, how you communicate, because we also recognize that, yes, grades are important. They are very important. But if you're a 4.0 student and you can't communicate with somebody, you're not going to be a good whatever you're planning on being, be that an OT, be that a PT, be that a chiropractor. So we're looking for people that have life skills. You don't have to have a kinesiology major. You can have a major in whatever you're looking for, as long as you have our prerequisites. Those prerequisites can be found on our webpage as well as PTCAS. And I think I have rambled on and hit all of the stuff for our program. So I'll step down.
All right, thanks. Okay, so Nicole, do you want to talk a little bit about application cycle for chiropractic?
Absolutely. So with Life University's application process, our application is actually available online on our website, and I'm putting that into the chat box. It's just life.edu/apply. We also have the instructions for our application process there as well. There is a $50 application fee. But if you connect with a recruiter or with an admissions counselor, we can give you an app fee waiver code so that you can waive that $50. You actually do not have to have a bachelor's degree in order to get into the Doctor of Chiropractic program, unless your state requires it for you to be able to practice chiropractic. So one of the main things that we always stress to students is make sure that you know the licensing rules for your state, because there are some states that require you to have a bachelor's degree, but then there are some that do not. But what we do require in order for you to be evaluated for entry into the DC program is either 90 semester hours of college coursework or 135 quarter hours. We are on a quarter system, so you have 4 opportunities to apply and gain entry into the program. So our winter quarter starts in January, our spring quarter starts in April, our summer quarter starts in July, and then our fall quarter starts in October. Typically they are 11 weeks, those quarters are, but you do have those 4 opportunities to apply and gain entry into the program. In order to be admitted outright, there is a requirement of a 3.0 GPA. Anything that falls below that, students are typically sent to committee for approval of the GPA if it's anywhere between a 2.75 or 2.99. So to kind of eliminate the, any question about it, 3.0 is what you're shooting for, but there is a little bit of wiggle room if our committee approves it. So basically the application process, you would go on our website and click apply, and it would actually take you through the prompts of creating a profile within our system. From there, you can start a new application. The main thing that we ask for is for all of the transcripts for any institution that you've ever attended. A lot of times students will just include where they got a bachelor's degree or where they earned their most college credit, but we will need to have all of your college transcripts in order to fully evaluate you. And then there are 2 Doctor of Chiropractic forms that we require as well. There's a DC disclaimer form, and then also a DC technical standards form that we just ask that you read through those and submit those with your signature. Once we get all of that information, then we can actually start the evaluation process, which depending on the time of year and how rushed we are, could take a day, could take, up to 3 to 5 days, just depending on, again, how pressed we are to get everything done. But typically our team tries to have everything within 1 or 2 days to be able to give students a decision on that. Whitney, did I skip anything or miss anything?
No, I think you did an amazing job. Exactly what I want to say.
Awesome. Well, on a similar kind of note, obviously everyone kind of talked a little bit about GPA and how that's really important to be generally admissible, but what are you looking for in a student that would be a good or a great candidate? Are there things they could be doing or should be doing to really stand out above just kind of the bare minimum?
I guess I'll go first again. So what we're looking at is somebody that has really good people skills and communication skills, like Dr. Hughes was saying. We want to make sure that we also have an interview after we do the initial application review. And part of that is to look to see how this person communicates, because sometimes somebody can look one way in black and white on paper, but then when you talk to them, and lately we've been doing these through Zoom because of COVID, but historically we would do them face to face. So, but either way, we're having interviews with everybody. We want to look at eye contact, ability to answer questions, ask questions. We want somebody to, like we were talking about before, we want them to be holistic, and we want to know that they really want to be an OT and that they know what an OT is. And also, why specifically do they want UT as their school? Just to make sure that it's not something where they're just like, oh, I just want to be any health profession and I don't really know. And it's some generic thing that they're sending to all these programs and hope they finally hit the bullseye on one of them. So, we want to make sure, because once somebody's in our program, we want them to finish. We want them to pass their boards. We want them to get a job. So in order for that to happen, we want to make sure they're really invested and have that intrinsic motivation from the very beginning.
I'll add a couple things to that because I'm from the same program as Dr. Woods, and this just popped into my head that I would say if I could offer 2 pieces of advice besides what she said and what else you're going to hear tonight, I would say for an applicant to strengthen their chances of getting into our program would be to do whatever you can to be exposed and aware of other types of cultures and backgrounds. So we call that cultural humility, or even better, cultural fluidity. If you were raised in a neighborhood and a school and a friend group that has really the same background as you, it's exceptionally important for you to put yourself out there in different groups, and it makes us all better humans to do it. But we really firmly feel like that makes people better OTs. And the second thing is related to what Dr. Wood said. When you are doing observations, and this would go for any profession in here, when you're shadowing, when you're observing, when you're talking to kind of your role models or people who make you want to go into whatever health profession, ask them why they chose it. What's their favorite part about it? I mean, I'd ask them what's the hardest thing or the most challenging, or maybe their least favorite thing too. And those things will help give you a more overall picture. Think of it as getting a video instead of a snapshot of what somebody's job is like, because you're going to be in this career for 40 or 50 years and you want to choose well. You want to make sure it aligns with your strengths and the things that you like to be challenged with, and that you are in good alignment with it too. So that would be my 2 recommendations on top of what's already been said.
I'm going to say there's not a mold. And I don't want it to be a mold. So I don't think any physical therapist should be identical to another physical therapist, because none of us are identical. If you look around, we all look different. So I don't think there should be a mold for a student. That being said, we do look at grades, we do look at GRE, we do look at leadership. We want students that have life experiences, because the more life experiences, and that's kind of what Dr. Lancaster was saying, the more life experiences, the more you put yourself out there, the better you're going to be able to communicate with others, especially your patients or your coworkers. And we feel in our program that it's very important for that. I'm going to piggyback on another piece of advice from Dr. Lancaster. If you have been part of an organization or a group, or maybe you're doing observation hours at a clinic, get them to put you in a mock interview. Get them to put you under the same kind of pressure that you're going to have going into an interview process, be it at our school or some other school, so that you can see where maybe you didn't answer a question fully, or maybe you didn't make good eye contact, or maybe you didn't understand the question and you rambled on about what they were looking for, so that you can give your best and you can put your best foot forward, as well as they're going to give you tips on how to bring your personality out into a Zoom interview, or let's hope a face-to-face interview in the next year. So that would be my biggest piece of advice, is doing a mock interview.
I just to kind of build on that, of course, we do have to look for that solid academic background, because, we want you to be successful throughout the program, and then, of course, pass the licensure exam. But beyond that, we do love experiences related to the healthcare field and helping individuals. We do look for leadership like everyone else does. Then a genuine interest in helping people. And empathetic care providers is another thing we're really looking for. And passionate lifelong learners was another. Serving in local community is always helpful or looks good on an application. And then specifically at South, we want to know why applicants are excited about our program. We're not the traditional brick and mortar, so that's the thing that we really want to know from applicants. They know what they're getting into, that it is a hybrid, but on top of the hybrid, it is accelerated. So it's only 2 years. So we want to make sure that they are aware of what they're getting themselves into. So just knowing our program and knowing that they can manage all of this coming at them. So that's a lot of things that we look for. But yeah, just highly engaged in their profession, reaching out to local healthcare providers in the communities. And like they mentioned before, make sure the people you have recommendation letters coming from know you. While it is, it's great to have a physical therapist write a recommendation letter for you, we do really read those and see if you have those soft skills that really would make you a great physical therapist and really be able to interact with your patients. Because sometimes physical therapists sometimes are the only ones that can get their patients to talk to them about what's going on. So they do have to have a really good, strong communication background as well. So.
All right, and then switching gears, Nicole or Whitney, a little bit about what is a good or a great candidate for your program.
Well, on top of everything that everybody else has said, you kind of made this easy for us. What we focus on a lot is the science foundation of our candidates. We do have requirements of the sciences where biology, chemistry, and life and natural sciences are requirements in order to get into the program. So of course, academically in all of those programs or on all of those courses, we aren't able to accept any grades lower than a C. So a well-rounded candidate within the sciences that is academically sound in those sciences is definitely something that will that kind of gives a precursor to how they will do, especially in their first few quarters in the DC program. because the program is very heavily science weighted within those first few quarters. And we do have advisors as well as a different evaluation process once the student has gotten into the program, of what they'll have to maintain throughout their first quarter, so that we're looking at the students again once they get into the program and making sure that they are keeping that level of success that we saw in the application process. Even though we do take the best 135 quarters or 90 semester hours in order to give you an admitted GPA. Definitely, as I was saying, those science courses are looked at a little heavier than the other courses, even though we are looking for a very well-rounded applicant. We definitely want people who are strong within those science-related fields.
Okay, and then the last question that I've kind of got prepared before we turn things over, if students have any other questions, and I have other questions too, but the last one that I had prepared would be, what recommendations do you all have for students to get experience, whether that's shadowing or anything else right now, given how difficult it is to do things these days? A lot of, doctors' offices don't want any extra visitors there. It's hard to get jobs places, and a lot of student organizations are not doing as many activities as they usually do. So what advice do you have for students who are kind of in a tough situation these days?
Well, we have the online shadowing module now in lieu of that. It's fine if people want to try to get those hours, and it's encouraged. But we did want to take the stress off the clinics, because we also need students who have already been admitted to have fieldwork placements. So we wanted to give an alternative option. And the online modules that we have, they show occupational therapy in a variety of settings so that the applicants still have the opportunity to see that.
All right, Shannon or Sophie, any advice?
Yeah, obviously, right now especially, we've never required observation hours. We just highly recommend, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. But like Dr. Woods said, we are accepting virtual hours. Anything you can possibly get right now is great, but we completely understand if it's not feasible. Especially, we're, like she said, we're trying to get our admitted students placed in clinical experiences. So anything they can get is great, but again, we understand if it's not that feasible right now.
So our program actually was doing something different. This is the first year that we are not requiring observation hours. And we actually had decided to do that before COVID actually hit. So the reason that we decided to do that is that we are recognizing, just like what Dr. Wood says, there is a tremendous amount of stress on the clinics and these, as well as the hospitals, to accommodate not only students from our programs, but also undergraduate students that are wanting to do internships hours, as well as students wanting to do observation hours. And we didn't want to have to make them choose anymore. So we decided to recommend observation hours instead of requiring observation hours. But we still recognize the fact that you need to know exactly what you're getting into. So I'm going to put a couple of links into the chat box. One of them is choosept.com, and that is a website that is for getting information out to the public about what physical therapy is, and as well as what you can do as a student to learn more about the profession of physical therapy. There's a whole bunch of podcasts that are related on there, and that's also in there. So listening to podcasts from local physical therapists, as well as those that are involved in the Choose PT movement. I'd also say follow the APTA, which is the American Physical Therapy Association. local clinicians as well as physical therapy programs. Follow them on social media so that you can get access to what they're doing and how they're promoting their philosophy, their programs, as well as different things that may be going on locally for you. And then the last thing I'd say is if you do want to get observation hours and you're part of an organization on campus, see if that organization has alumni that are in the professions that you're looking for. So if you are part of a sorority or fraternity, look to your alumni and see if they can, if they're physical therapists, occupational therapists, chiropractors, see if you can work with them or if they can refer you to somebody that they know. So those would be the best ways I would suggest trying to find more out about the different programs that you're interested in.
Great. Yeah, I'll kind of touch on chiropractic just really quick. So for us, applying into the program, shadowing hours and observation hours is really not required. But yes, we definitely highly recommend that students do go and they shadow a chiropractor. They see, what it's like to, even own their own business one day, and they see what it's like to do different kinds of techniques on patients, and just, a wide variety of what kind of chiropractor that you could be. There's so many chiropractors that, specialize in women's health. I'm actually expecting right now, so I'm getting adjusted all the time, and, it's incredible how just how much certifications and all of these techniques go into playing for women that are I'm actually seeing a chiropractor that is a woman, and she's helping me. So she has a bunch of Webster techniques and all these different things that are specifically made and geared towards chiropractic women that are helping other women. So it's just amazing. So we have a lot of chiropractors in the Knoxville area and really throughout the US that are always open. And because chiropractors are very, wanting to really get back in the swing of things, and they really believe that the body has the ability to heal itself from within, the innate ability to do that. A lot of chiropractors are open and welcoming students that are willing and wanting to observe and get shadowing hours. So definitely we can send Melanie, contact information for chiropractors that are local in Tennessee that are more than willing to, welcome you with open arms to come and shadow. So
that would be awesome. Thanks. All right, well, so that is the end of the questions that I had prepared. We still have quite a bit of time. So does anyone have any questions, unless we want to keep rolling with what I've got, but I want to give students, I want you all to have a chance to ask any questions that you have. Didn't see anything in the chat. So if you want to unmute, we'll leave an awkward pause for a couple seconds here if you want to jump in, because we love Zoom.
I can go. Y'all pretty much answered most of the questions that I had today, but this question is kind of vague, but I guess I'm a junior, I'll be applying to PT school in the summer / early fall. I was just wondering what the best thing I can do for myself right now is. Obviously, I know that how important grades are, and it has been just difficult with COVID, obviously, to attain observation hours. So I guess just being proactive, what would be the best thing I could do for myself to stand out in admissions?
I would say make sure you have somebody read over your application before you hit accept. Because we are looking at how you answer the questions. We are looking for leadership. We're looking for different activities. So even if you are not able to get out and do observation hours, are you able to do volunteer hours somewhere, like food kitchens, food pantries? Have you been involved on campus? Because like I said, you could be a 4.0 student and not be able to communicate well with others. So being able to get involved as much as you're able to at this point, it will carry a lot for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
To kind of build on that, I would recommend looking into the programs. I know you probably already have some you're interested in, but really look into their program and maybe look into their faculty, just the way the program is set up. That's been a huge appeal for the applicants in our program. Our admissions committee really likes to see what's drawn them to physical therapy, why they have chosen this as their career as well. So,
Thank you.
Other questions?
I was just curious because I know, at least being at UT at the moment, it seems like a lot of like the school itself has transitioned to like an online classroom format, and I'm just curious how some of the other schools may have adjusted for like graduate programs.
That's a really good question. It's a big question in this day and age for sure. We are at UT in the College of Health Professions, so that is OT and PT both in Memphis. We are doing essential labs, especially things that involve patient contact, like learning to transfer somebody from a bed to a wheelchair, that kind of thing. We are still doing those on campus, and we have scaled down the groups. So labs are much smaller now to minimize exposure. In our program, we often even try to group students if they tell us that a group of them are living together, and so they're already exposed to each other a lot, and we'll put them in the same lab group. We are ramping up somewhat depending on how everything goes with vaccination rollout and COVID stuff. We hope to have more classes back in person in the fall, starting really in July. We all want to be on campus, and so do our students. So we're trying to advocate for that, but obviously we have to be safe. Our students have not, when they're out on clinicals, they just wear full protective gear, and we are trying to get them vaccinated as quickly as possible to help with that too.
So we're probably along the same lines. However, we are a hybrid program, so a lot of our program is already online. So we do a lot of the virtual learning. It's not self-paced or self-taught. You still have the synchronous activities where you log in and interact live with all of your classmates and faculty members. And then everyone just travels to Knoxville for the labs. Again, we have scaled back having everybody on campus. We do have our own dedicated space, which is nice. And then again, with the pods, when people do travel to Knoxville, they usually stay together in houses, and they'll stay together throughout the entire lab. And in this past lab, we've actually, since we have a doctor of pharmacy program on campus as well, all of our students were actually tested prior to coming on campus. So we've been very, very fortunate to be able to do that. But hopefully, as vaccines start rolling out more, we'll be able to have everybody back on campus for the lab immersions, but they're not always on campus, luckily, with the setup of our program already.
So very similar to what Dr. Lancaster was saying, we've created 3 lab spaces, and we run two labs. Basically, we've always divided it up into 30, but we've got 10 students in each room with a lab instructor, and then we're running Zoom to do our demonstrations. I think the smaller lab groups makes the idea of having a more close instruction. There's a lot of things that we're catching our students that we may not have been able to catch when there were 30 people and loud and all of that kind of stuff going in a lab. So I think the smaller lab groups have actually been more beneficial for our students. I think the thing that we've missed most is we usually bring some patients on campus for our students to see, and we're not able to do that. And the students, I think, there's a distance between what I saw in the clinic and what I was able to do. And I'm going to be a physical therapist, and all I'm doing is learning. But when you actually bring somebody on campus and they actually get to apply their skills, they get a boost of energy. And I think they're missing that right now, but hopefully soon we'll be able to do that. So.
Yeah, definitely. A few things I'll tell you about our programs, both the OT and the PT programs at UT in Memphis. We do have some clinical observation times. We have a pro bono pediatric clinic in the OT program that actually our students run, and our faculty and other OT alums do treatment there. Our students do the administration and are the board members there. So they get a chance to see children being treated. And PT does have a clinical practice as well, that we hope to be able to, ramp back up with that stuff very soon. Another thing is that we have a very fancy simulation center. We call it CHIPS. It's on our campus. If you ever come to the campus, you will see it. It's bright and shiny, and it's very state of the art. It opened roughly 5 years ago, and we do lots of simulations, everything from practicing transferring each other from bed to wheelchair and other things. But also we hire actors to play the role of patients, and we have students practice with them. And then they have very high tech mannequins that also procedures are practiced on. And we do a lot of that in an interprofessional way. So with the dental students, pharmacy, medicine, nursing, and each other as well. So that's something that's kind of cool, I think, about our campus. And the last thing is that we do have a service requirement for our students. And when possible, sometimes the faculty will go out in the community and do some service activities. Sometimes it's on campus, but both the OT and the PT program have a good service component. And research has really shown that helps to develop empathy as well as clinical skills and communication and some of that other stuff we talked about. So something to look forward to. And like Dr. Hughes said, that kind of stuff energizes us. It sounds like it's a lot to do, but we really get more than we give as far as that goes.
Well, I know that the question wasn't specifically for the chiropractic program, but at Life University, we are also participating in a hybrid format for our instruction and labs. So all of our students are alpha split. So on the odd weeks of our quarter, the first half of the alphabet actually attends all of their in-person instruction and labs. And then on the even weeks of the quarter, those students would be participating in remote learning while the other half of the alphabet is actually in person. So cutting down on the amount of exposure that students have. One thing that we were doing before COVID, which has just kind of amplified now that COVID is everywhere, and all that people talk about, that is our PAT lab, which is the palpation and training technique. So it was actually patented by one of our professors, and it's a mannequin that has different sensors throughout the spine, and students actually begin to use that within their technique classes as early as second quarter. And then we also have open PAT lab hours that students can come in and just continue, practicing with the PAT mannequins so that they can build confidence, so that they can just practice without having to actually have human contact. And it gives them, the ability to practice what they're learning in class, and, again, build more confidence in what they're doing before they actually get to the clinics where they're actually working on human patients.
I guess I kind of have a follow-up question to all of that. So with some of the changes that your programs have done because of COVID or due to COVID, do you see a lot of those things continuing in the future, like having more online or virtual components, or are you hoping like the second this is over, we go back to the way it was before? We just don't really know what to expect. So have your programs, or, have you heard rumors of those happenings in other programs even maybe?
I want it to go back the way it was. And the reason I say that is because when you go to be a physical therapist, you go to put your hands on people. You go to actually interact with people, and there's such a distance right now with using Zoom that I miss the interaction, and I'm an introvert, and I was so glad. I was like, good, I'm at home. I'm good. I'm ready to be back.
Same here. Yep. I think there may end up being a few class sessions here or there that are still online or virtual, but they'll be the minority of what we do at UTHSC. We really, we have a lot of things that we'll do together between the OT and PT program. And, it's just harder to do that on Zoom and get people a chance to ask questions. Just one example is we bring in a defense attorney every year and have OT and PT students all in one room. And she talks about what she calls defensive documentation. How can we as healthcare providers document to make sure that the record is complete and we get credit for what we do and don't get blamed for things we didn't do and that kind of thing. And she talks about real cases that she has defended healthcare providers in. So that's really cool. And then the big thing that happens towards the very beginning of each of the OT and PT programs is our Cadaver Lab. It's part of the gross anatomy class. It's a 6-credit class that involves lecture and actually dissecting cadavers. And it's neat because it's interprofessional. Part of the faculty is from the OT department, part is from the PT department and medicine. And they pair up together, and small groups of students work on each different cadaver in the lab. And that's how they learn their bones, nerves, muscles, vessels, things like that.
Even though we were already hybrid, we're definitely looking forward to having all of our labs back to normal, having everybody come in and run the full length of time. And then even since we do have pharmacy and PA on the same campus, they get to interact with those other students as well. And we haven't been able to do that. And then also bringing in the pediatric patients so they can really work with the kids, our geriatric patients, and then also we'll bring in a prosthetic specialist. So they're kind of missing out on some of those right now. And so we're really looking forward to having that all back.
All right, anybody have any other questions? We've been doing this for a year and I still don't know like how long to wait on Zoom. Well, I didn't see anything else come up in the chat other than some great resources that everyone has plugged in there. And I'll save that so that it can be distributed to you again if you didn't save them from the chat. But I guess I've got one last question prepared since we do have a little bit more time, kind of off tangent here, but circling back to admissions. I think the big question is always, what if I don't get in? Is it appropriate for someone who was not admitted to follow up with the program coordinator or the admissions contact person and ask, what can I do to maybe get in at the next cycle? Or, other suggestions for a student who might find themselves in that situation.
And we always encourage if, if you really want to get into PT or maybe specifically our program, definitely reach out. We are happy to give feedback. And if there's an area that might be a weakness, we will definitely give as good feedback as we possibly can, especially if they did go through the interview process and we had a full admissions committee review it. We can really give some good feedback. So definitely do that.
I agree. That's what my February and March has been. All the Fridays, that's when I've had advising sessions with those that didn't get into our program. And what I try to explain is it's not a guarantee that even if we talk about these things, that it's not a guarantee that you're going to get in the next year. It's just you're increasing your competitiveness. And that may be retaking a class. That could be increasing your leadership, trying to get out there and do some community service, or take a class on GRE and improve your GRE scores. Those are the common things, as well as the interview process and getting into a mock interview. Those are the big things that I look at, as well as give advice on trying to make yourself more competitive for the next year. So yes, absolutely, they can follow up.
I would say for Life University, it's kind of rare that a student is denied admission, because even if we have a couple of different tracks that students can enter the program. So if, for say, they're missing a science class or missing something that's part of our requirements, we can accept them with a contingency and then offer them the opportunity to enter what we call our pre-DC program, and actually let them take the classes with us that they're missing in order to make up those prerequisites. So definitely, in the rare, instance that a student is denied because of, GPA reasons or things like that, if they're just not going to, even with additional classes, if they're just not going to make the GPA requirement or something like that, then yes, we can definitely, speak with them and encourage them to follow back up with us. And we'll try everything that's in our power to do anything on our side that will help them out. But typically, there's so much done on the front end of it, with making sure that they have the requirements that they need, and assisting with that process, even if they're missing a class and they take it at another institution. Just making sure that we're communicating with them with what's required, so that they're enrolling in the right courses, and making sure that the course descriptions match up with what we're looking for. We always keep that line of communication open with them, so that they're fully aware of what they're getting into, what we're expecting, and what that that acceptance would look like, as far as what they have and what they're still needing.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll call it out one more time. Any last minute questions? Or panelists, anything that you didn't get to talk about that popped into your head midway through that you'd like to share? All right, awesome. Well, like I said, I'll save the chat so that we have those resources saved. And if you are interested in popping into another breakout room to catch the end of those, you're welcome to do that. But if we don't have any more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and you all can have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Hopefully you've learned a lot, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thanks y'all for being here. And thank you, Melanie, for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.